changed my theme back to the theme we developed earlier. We're done with child themes, and so we're going to continue developing the rest of our custom theme. We're going to start talking about the Shortcodes API more in depth. Previously, we created a shortcode to display a form that will create a recipe when submitted. It was very simple, but that doesn't really show the full power of shortcodes. In the resources section of this lecture, I provide a link to the Shortcodes API Codex page. There are a lot of examples here, and basically everything that can be done with shortcodes is covered here. Let's create a shortcode that will display a button link to our Facebook page. This kind of shortcode would be perfect for the About Us page. Let's open up the About Us page and then edit it. Switch to the text editor. At the very bottom, I want you to add UFB and then update this post. If we take a look at the page now, you'll see the text we just added being displayed as is. This is important to note. If a user adds in a shortcode that doesn't exist, then WordPress will simply return the original text. We don't want the original text. We want this to be a functioning shortcode. Let's open up the functions file and use the add_shortcode function. The shortcode will be named UFB, which is short for Udemy Facebook. The callback function will be JU_Facebook_shortcode. Next, create a folder inside the includes folder called shortcodes and create a file named facebook.php where we'll define the callback function. Make sure to include this file from the functions file. Inside the function, let's return an HTML string with a link to our Facebook page. I'm going to hard code this in. Pause the video if you need to. All this is an HTML link to my Facebook page. It has a class of btn_bg-facebook. These are classes specific to Bootstrap and not WordPress. We're also using Font Awesome's Facebook icon. Let's refresh the About Us page, and we should now have this sweet looking button. While it looks sweet, it isn't flexible at all. The main problem is that you can't edit the text in the button or the link to the Facebook page. Also, you can only link one Facebook page ever. This makes this shortcode not reusable. Let's fix that with something called attributes. Just like regular HTML, shortcodes can have attributes, except the attributes are all custom and controlled by you. Let's see how this works. Let's edit this page once again and add an attribute called page. Set this attribute's value to whatever you like. I'm going to set this to Udemy. Make sure to press update. Let's modify the shortcode function now. To accept attributes, we simply allow the function be passed in a variable named atts. This variable is an array of all attributes passed into us. This includes attributes that we don't even use. This can be a problem. Let's say a user misspelled a certain attribute or forgets to include one. Well, WordPress provides a handy function to handle unused attributes called shortcode_atts. This function will return a combined array of default attributes along with user-defined attributes. Let's use this function now. I'm going to reassign the atts variable to the variable returned by the shortcode_atts function. The first parameter is an array of default attributes. We only have one attribute, and that's page. We could leave this default value as an empty string, but there's an even better solution. Remember that our theme has options, and one of those options is a Facebook page option. Let's grab this option using the get_option function and store it in a variable named JU_theme_OPTS. Then we simply set this page attribute to the Facebook option value. The second parameter is the user-defined attributes array. Let's modify the return string now. We can safely use the ATTS array, knowing every attribute we need is provided to use. Let's replace the hard-coded Facebook page with the ATT's page key like so. Let's refresh the page and the shortcode will now generate a more dynamic link. Temporarily update the shortcode by removing the page attribute. Since this shortcode doesn't have the page attribute, the default page will be whatever page is set in the theme's options. We're almost done. The last step is to make the text within this link more dynamic as well. There are two ways we can do this. We can use attributes, but attributes should be used for text that is very limited. While it may seem ridiculous, we want the user to have an unlimited amount of room for adding text into the button. Another similarity shortcodes have to HTML tags is that we can close them. Let's update the page one more time. This time, we're going to add a closing shortcode. You have to use the name as the opening shortcode. In between these two opening and closing shortcodes, you can now freely add text. I'm going to add "like me" on Facebook. I'm going to add "like me" on Facebook. Keep in mind that closing a shortcode is optional if you don't plan on having text in between. Let's update the shortcode function now. Unlike attributes, the content doesn't have a function for checking if it's set or not. So we'll have to do this in the PHP way. It's very simple though. Inside the function, we can set the content to a string. It's important to note that content will always be a string. The string I'm going to set this to is "like us on Facebook." Let's change the text from within our button to this new variable. Save your changes and refresh the page. Our button should now be displaying dynamically. Let's take this a step further. Shortcodes work almost like HTML, as you can see, except we can extend how they work by generating completely new HTML. Shortcodes can also contain other shortcodes and HTML. Let's see how this works. Edit the page again, and let's change the text. I'm going to wrap the text with strong tags to make it bold. Pay attention to where I'm placing these tags. I'm still inside the shortcode. Update this page and then refresh it. Now our text is bold. Shortcodes do allow HTML, and it's up to us to sanitize and filter any HTML passed in. I'm not going to do that, as I'll allow HTML to be passed in. The last thing I want to show you is how to run shortcodes from within another shortcode. I'm going to create a brand new shortcode called UI. The callback function will be JU_icon_shortcode. I'm going to define this function within the Facebook file. I know I said we should separate our code, but in this case it's fine, as this function won't really be big. It'll be a simple shortcode that will accept an attribute called icon. It'll allow us to use any font awesome icon without having to write the HTML every time. Let's update the page one more time and use this shortcode within our shortcode like so. I'm going to use the icon Twitter just to show this works. Update the Facebook shortcode function as well by removing the icon, since we're doing this dynamically. Update this page and then refresh it. We have a problem. WordPress is not processing the shortcode within our shortcodes. This is because the content is being passed in unfiltered, remember? So, how do we run shortcodes within shortcodes? WordPress provides a function called do_shortcode. Let's wrap the content variable with this function. This function will simply read a string and execute any shortcodes if there are any. Let's refresh the page one more time, and you'll now see our shortcode is running as intended. That's all there is to shortcodes. Back on the codex page, there are two sections I suggest you read up on: the limitations section and the formal syntax section. Both of these sections go over some do's and don'ts when it comes to developing shortcodes.